face what's new, to act boldly, decisively, yet cooperatively. Policymakers in Africa must act with a mindset of possibilities. We should embrace technology and not be intimidated by it. We must believe that we can leapfrog the advanced nations in many areas if we put our minds to it. Today, I will focus on how Ghana has strategically leveraged digitalization as a tool to unlock economic opportunities key to combating unemployment and creating growth. For over 60 years after independence, Ghana had largely an informal system without many of the basic elements necessary for a modern economic system. Today, however, we are building a formal systems and data-based economy based to compete in the fourth industrial revolution. Our challenge is to use digitalization to solve current problems while laying the foundation for the future of jobs, leapfrogging from the second to the fourth industrial revolution. There is mounting empirical evidence that highlights the transformative potential of digital innovation to create jobs, boost productivity, increase income levels, and foster wealth creation. Over the last 8 years, Ghana has embarked on an aggressive policy of digitalization to jumpstart economic transformation of our country. However, I must state that we chose the path of digitalization not for its own sake. Our focus is on digital technology that can solve our problems. At this stage of our development, we are not looking to have driverless cars or humanoids, for example. We want technology that can solve our problems in agriculture, health, education, access to credit, the payment system efficiency, public service delivery, revenue mobilization, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, before the start of this journey, digitalization was not part of our mainstream development equation. It was largely seen as a peripheral concern, not central to the country's national development agenda. My focus on digitalization as Vice President was the subject sometimes of ridicule by political opponents, but I stuck to my vision and set out to use digitalization to solve some of the everyday problems faced by Ghanaians, and in so doing, build an engine for economic growth and job creation. The most important challenge for our economy as far as digitalization was concerned was that in Ghana, most people couldn't be uniquely identified. Practically, it was possible to be born, live your entire life, die and be buried in Ghana without there being any official record that you ever existed. Everyday interactions with public services, whether it's by applying for a driver's license, passport, or any government permit, became difficult. Corruption was also widespread, and taking bribes became almost normal in the delivery of many public services. Other challenges we faced included that the absence of a functional national property address system. A modern economy simply cannot function without a reliable address system. A large formal economy also existed, the reliance on cash payments. The informal sector dominates much of our economy, and cash transactions were the norm, which makes tracking and managing economic activity difficult. We also had a large portion of the population lacking access to formal financial services,
and leaving many financially excluded from the system. Our databases were mostly working in the organization's own silo, and they were not integrated with that of other public service providers, creating inefficiencies across various sectors. We also had manual record keeping, which was predominant in our health care system, and this slowed down the processes of service delivery. Also, those living in rural and remote regions were very much underserved with limited access to quality healthcare services. Most citizens did not file taxes, and there was no effective way to track or ensure widespread tax compliance. When we came into office, only 4% of the adult population had tax identification numbers. We also had no broad-based, individualized credit scoring system. And can you imagine what will happen, ladies and gentlemen, to employment in the United States if you faced some of these challenges, such as no social security number, no address system, no credit scoring, and so on? It will be a completely different economy that will emerge. So I came to the conclusion that most of the problems and challenges that we faced as a nation in Ghana that we had lived with for the last 60 years after independence could be solved through digitalization. In fact, I had expressed this view in a book that I had authored 7 years before I became Vice President. We therefore, upon coming into office, moved quickly to implement many digital initiatives to address these problems. For the sake of time, however, I will limit myself to a few of the problems we have addressed through digitalization. To address the problem of unique identity, we took the decision to move quickly with the issuance of a biometric national ID card, which we call the Ghana card, to the population. So far, over 85% of adults have been issued with the Ghana card, and the issuance has provided Ghana a database that will be the anchor for all transactions in the future, providing unique identity to all individuals. It will help government plan, track individuals from birth to death, fight crime, improve access to credit, ease access to government services, eliminate ghost workers, and eliminate the use of fake identities, amongst others. We also designated the Ghana card number, this unique identity, for individuals as the tax identification number for the country, the social security number, the health insurance number, amongst others. So the Ghana card is linked to all the SIM cards, all the bank accounts, driver's license, and so on, vehicle registrations. So by making the Ghana card number the tax identification number, for example, we increased immediately the proportion of adults with tax identification numbers from 4% to 85%. To solve the problem of a lack of a working address system in the country, we have leveraged on GPS technology to implement a digital address system for Ghana, capturing every square inch of land or water in Ghana. In the process, we've identified and provided unique addresses for all properties in Ghana, whether it's in the village or the towns or the cities. Ghana is just one of a few countries in the world that have deployed a nationwide digital property address system. And with the help of digital technology, in just 1 year, this problem that we had lived with for over 60 years was solved. Then I come to the issue of financial inclusion. When we assumed office, the data showed that some 70% of people in Ghana had no bank accounts. However, 80% of the adult population had mobile phones, many of them having mobile money accounts. It was, however, not possible to send money to customers of different telephone companies or to bank accounts. So we ask the questions, why can't we make it possible to send mobile money across the different telcos and also to bank accounts? The answer to these questions was the implementation of the groundbreaking mobile money interoperability system across all the banks and all the telecom companies. Today, therefore, with the implementation of our mobile money interoperability system, you can send money from any mobile money wallet to a bank account or to another mobile money wallet of another telecom company. Ghana is the first country and one of the very few in the world to achieve this type of interoperability between bank accounts and mobile wallets. Following the implementation of mobile money interoperability, the mobile money account in Ghana is practically a bank account and has resulted in financial inclusion of over 90% of the adult population. As a result, Ghana is now ranked as the only country in Africa with 100% access to financial inclusion, because every adult Ghanaian can either get a traditional bank account or a mobile money account which works like a bank account. The data shows that because of the implementation of mobile money interoperability, Ghana is the fastest growing mobile money market in Africa. We've also seen a 40-fold increase in mobile money transactions in the last 8 years. Ghana is also the only country in Africa and one of only a few in the world with a fully interoperable multiple instant payment system. In addition, Ghana has been ranked as the best in the world as far as mobile money regulation is concerned. Furthermore, Ghana has implemented a universal QR code payment system, one of only 4 countries in the world to do so, the others being Singapore, India, and China. Ghana is therefore at the cutting edge of the implementation of digital technology in the world. The digital payments infrastructure, along with the digital property address system, is boosting e-commerce in Ghana and creating jobs. E-commerce is also booming across many sales are now taking place over Instagram, over Facebook, across websites. Many people who could not afford to rent or build shops are able to do business on the internet with little cost, with deliveries held by the digital address system and payments using mobile money interoperability. Ladies and gentlemen, to improve access to government services, we have deployed what we call the Citizens App. The Citizens App is a comprehensive digital platform designed to centralize and enhance interactions between government and citizens. With this single, unified, user-friendly platform, we have consolidated all public services onto one platform to enhance efficiency, accessibility, and convenience to all citizens and residents. So if you want to apply for a passport, birth certificate, driver's license, pay your taxes, clear goods at the port, and so on, pay your utility bills, local assembly tolls, and so on, or even book and pay for intercity transport, change your name after marriage, and so on, you can do all of that in one place on your mobile phone. It is a one-stop shop for accessing government services. At the heart of the Citizens App is the data interoperability system that has allowed the integration of government databases that were sitting in silos. Estonia is probably the best in the world at the integration of databases of government. So I led a team to Estonia last year to understudy their system. We found out that what we were missing in Ghana was a data interoperability system. which is known as the X Road in Estonia. Following the example of Estonia, Ghana has also, a few months ago, recently implemented the Data Interoperability System to underpin our Citizens App. So we now call it the Citizens App Data Interoperability System, or CADIS. And this is to integrate all the existing government databases, for example, the databases of the National Identification Authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Drivers and Vice Vehicle Licensing Authority, the Passport Office, National Health Insurance, Social Security, the SIM cards, and so on. The CADIS is a distributed information exchange platform that makes it possible for these different systems to communicate across all the government sector. For example, the police will be able to access data from the tax authority or the business registry and so on. The driver's licensing and so on. This will bring a lot of transparency, discipline, and efficiency into our economy and society. CADIS, Citizens App Data Interoperability System, is, as far as I know, the first of its kind on the continent and one of the few in the world. I consider CADIS as one of our biggest accomplishments in the digitalization space. Many developed and advanced countries have a challenge of integrating data across the government sectors because you have legacy systems and other issues that have prevented many of the advanced countries from doing so. And this is one area where developing countries like Ghana can easily leapfrog. Ladies and gentlemen, the accelerated digitalization of government services has transformed how citizens securely and efficiently interact with public institutions. Coupled with the widespread issuance of the Ghana card, the integration of national databases, and the remarkable expansion of financial inclusion driven by mobile money interoperability, Ghana has leveraged on this data to facilitate the implementation of a comprehensive, individualized credit scoring system for the first time. I launched Ghana's credit scoring system just a few months ago. The credit scoring system will enhance access to credit, strengthen trust in our financial ecosystem, paving the way for a thriving credit economy and job creation. The credit scoring system, as it was done elsewhere, will also reduce non-performing loans and interest rates. This is a huge achievement for Ghana as far as we are concerned, as it is now one of the few African countries with an individualized credit scoring system, and we would like to see all of Africa move, of course, in this direction. We've also digitalized the health sector. Before government commenced the systematic digitalization of medical records at public health facilities, all records and documents were paper-based. The process of locating patients' files was cumbersome, and documents sometimes were misplaced or misfiled. This caused delays and inefficiencies in the delivery of health services, and the reluctance of some sick people to visit some of our public health facilities. The focused effort of government to digitalize medical records in our public health facilities has increased efficiency, effectiveness, and productivity in service delivery by our health facilities, eliminating the need for queues, delays, and inconsistency, and also increasing access to health care by those who need services the most. Henceforth, the medical records and history of patients are gathered under a single digital database, which can be accessed by any hospital in the country when the patient visits. So patients do not need moving from one part of the country to another to carry medical folders physically. And wherever you find yourself that you need medical attention, whichever office you go to, your medical records, whichever hospital you go to, your medical records can be pulled, and you can then get attention by the doctors in that hospital. Hospitals and clinics in remote and largely rural communities also had a difficult time getting medical supplies, especially in times of emergencies involving snake bites, childbirth, blood supplies, vaccines, and so on. Many lives were needlessly lost because hospitals were unable to access critically needed supplies on time. To address this problem, Ghana opted to partner San Francisco-based Zipline, the world's largest and only automated on-demand delivery service for medical supplies. This followed a visit with the team I led to San Francisco to meet with the founder and CEO, Robert Keller, where we expressed Ghana's interest in obtaining the services of their artificial intelligence-based drone technology. Ghana is the second country in Africa after Rwanda to implement the delivery of medicines to remote areas through drones, and currently Ghana has the largest medical drone delivery service in the world. As a result, many lives have been saved as a result of the medical drones, and the drones were particularly critical in the delivery of vaccines during the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, the Ghana Health Service has made significant financial savings as a result of the Zipline drone delivery program. I must say that all the drone centers in Ghana, we have 6 of them, and the flight operations are 100% manned by young Ghanaians. We've also digitized in the area of agriculture. Agriculture is the lifeblood of Ghana, yet for too long many farmers have been held back by limited access to information technology and mechanization. There was very little information on farmers and farms, and this makes it very difficult to target farmers with inputs such as fertilizer, seeds, and credit. This makes the sector susceptible to corruption. We therefore took the decision to build a database of all farmers and farms in Ghana through digitalization. We started with cocoa farms under the cocoa management system through the Ghana Cocoa Board. We built a digital database on every cocoa farm and every cocoa farmer. All cocoa farms and farmers have been given unique identities in the database to facilitate easy tracing of their farms and cocoa produce harvested from these farms. A barcode is assigned in the system to each sack of cocoa to make traceability easy. Ghana is the only cocoa producing country in the world to have done this. The CMS, the cocoa management system, ensures traceability from farm to export, increasing transparency and competitiveness in global markets. It provides confidence to private suppliers, providing farmers with products and services on credit terms that will provide commercial lenders in providing short-term credit financing towards production. By digitalizing the agricultural value chain, we are transforming Ghana's farming sector into a modern and profitable industry. We have not limited the digitalization of the agricultural value chain to just cocoa. Our goal is to collect and digitalize data on all farms and farmers in Ghana. Our e-agriculture initiative is a prime example demonstrating how targeted digital interventions can revolutionize the agricultural landscape. And under this project, we have built a comprehensive biometric farmer database registering 1.64 million farms and 33,000 value chain actors in 5 out of Ghana's 16 regions. And this has created a broad digital footprint for the sector. This data, including farm size, crops grown, and the yield, is invaluable for planning and support. And the goal is to extend this project to all the 16 regions of Ghana so that we will have all farms captured. I would like to close these briefing remarks by touching on the broad theme of this conference, Africa Beyond Borders. is a myth or a mandate for Africa's progress. I will argue that it is not a myth. A lot of work is going on to realize the vision of the AFCFTA. All 54 African countries have signed the agreement, and 47 of the countries have ratified. The AFCFTA is the largest free trade area in the world. And the number of countries actively trading on the AFCFTA currently stands at 39 out of the 54 countries. And this signals a growing commitment across the continent. We saw an increase in intra-African trade by 3.2% in 2023 to reach $992 billion. And recently, the AFCFTA has also adopted a digital trade protocol to accelerate the realization of the vision. This protocol, with its annexes, paved the way for a single digital market with harmonized rules, common principles, and standards that support digital trade. It also ensures that African MSMEs, which comprise 90% of the African market, with about 70% owned by women, youth, and so on, benefit from the AFCFTA. Let me conclude by saying that the digital economy holds the key to unlocking Africa's vast potential and creating jobs for the youth. By working together, governments, businesses, educators, and innovators, we can build a future where every African has the opportunity to thrive and contribute to a brighter tomorrow. Thank you very much for your attention.
Dr. Bawumia, for your insight and for the speech. We would love to ask you some questions. Definitely, as you mentioned, the digitalization has a lot of opportunities in Africa and can unlock a lot of potential. And definitely similar to Ghana, that's also happening in other African countries, definitely. So my first question would talk about the economic resilience. So like many African countries, Ghana has had quite some challenges in regarding to debt, inflation. So I would like to understand, how did you navigate that during your tenure, and what would be kind of some takeaways for other African economies that have similar challenges?
Well, thank you very much, Sarah. I think that you're quite right. I mean, we, as you know, came into office in 2017. During my tenure, I chaired the economic management team. We brought inflation down to single digits. In fact, the longest running period of single digit inflation, and for the first 4 years, we're around 7.2% inflation. We brought the deficit down, we had exchange rate stability, but then we had COVID, we had the Russia-Ukraine war, and also some fiscal excesses towards the 2020 election. And that, of course, destabilized our economy, elevated our debt sustainability problems, and so on. The issue, I mean, and the challenge, and you saw many African countries facing this problem. We ended up at the International Monetary Fund to get some respite from the challenges. But the lesson for me that I can draw for other countries in terms of what we experienced is, first of all, I think one has to make sure that you operate sustainable budget deficits so that you don't increase your debt. And that may be easier said than done. But I think that if you look at it, and this is one of the new things I was trying to bring up in the last campaign, is that African governments should not try to do everything. There's that temptation, and that temptation results in increased deficits. You should try to reduce government spending and bring in more of private sector spending to replace government spending. That will bring down. Secondly, you should try to increase revenue, right? So that domestic revenue mobilization becomes very, very important in doing so. And so you have large informal sector economies. Formalizing them would be very important in increasing. And also, Africa has something many other economies don't have, which is the issue of our minerals, gold, and so on. We need to leverage them to make sure we have exchange rate stability, and that is where I think we should be going.
Makes sense. And I think for us, looking at the theme of the conference, Beyond Borders, and you also touched a little bit on it on the FCFTA as kind of one of the ways to kind of look at these economic challenges and build economic resilience. What do you think is this agreement shaping the future of Africa, and is the continent really ready for this?
Yes, I believe that the AFCFTA has come at a very good time. We've played a lot of lip service to African economic integration over the years, but you can see some real momentum right now taking place with the AFCFTA, as I mentioned in my talk. 47 countries have ratified it. All countries have signed it. And actually, in terms of the work that the AFCFTA Secretariat is doing, they are really pushing it to make things happen. In terms of the AFCFTA trade regime, 39 countries are now actively trading on it. You now have the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, the PAPS, which the Afri-Exim Bank is driving, supported by the AFCFTA and the African Union, to allow African countries to trade in their own local currencies and not go through a third currency, and therefore make trade much easier. Today, you are seeing that a digital protocol has been adopted to allow for complete the digital market in Africa, which is going to be very significant, to allow for ease of trade across those issues. So I think that there's a lot of momentum that we are seeing as far as the AFCFTA is concerned, and I'm very optimistic about the future.
Definitely, we also really believe in the Beyond Borders in this conference. I just want to touch upon your past experience. So you had, as I mentioned in my presentation at the beginning, you had experience in both academia and the government, and that has given you a unique perspective on governments and policy. Just having with us like a large audience here, what advice would you give the people here in like both being in the business but also kind of joining the political systems?
Well, I believe that in terms of the politics, I of course spent time as an academic and then as a technocrat before I entered politics. And I think that it is, for me as a politician, going into politics, it's very, very important that for all of us, the mindset of possibilities, that you go into politics to solve problems, right? And so for all of us, we should believe in the mindset of possibilities, that things are possible to be done. Africa can become a very developed continent. I really believe in our lifetime, if we put our minds to it, we will surprise many people. And we shouldn't be afraid to do things which don't necessarily work. We could fail, but we try again and make it happen. But we should keep trying and be at the forefront of really reform and making things happen. I believe that Africa is clearly going to be the future.
No, definitely. And yeah, looking ahead, Africa is now at a turning point with immense potential for growth and development. In your view, what are the key drivers of Africa's future economic success, and what really must be done today to achieve that?
Well, I think that the key drivers have to be our population. The youthful population will be a major driver for, by 2050, I think 1 in 5 in the world will be African, about 25%. And most of them will be the youth. So I think the demographic dividend that we talk about with training, education, and skills can be realized. So I think that that is one. The second driver will be natural resources that we are still very endowed, and if we make sure that we use the natural resources in a way to avoid resource cases, then we could leverage on that. Digital economy is going to be a key driver in Africa, and of course urbanization will be another one. So I think all of these, and of course for me, the biggest one, be agriculture. Land is still huge, fertile land is still huge, water is still huge, and there's going to be an increasing reliance on Africa for food production in the world, and I think that we can leverage that in growth.
Definitely, I really think some of these drivers, we have heard them across the different panels during the conference, so there's definitely huge potential for growth. Just for the last minute, we would love to take some questions from the audience, and we have a QR code here. If you can scan it and ask the questions that you would like to ask, and then I would read them out. We have one question regarding basically being heavily reliant on some of the resources such as cocoa, oil, and gold, which still at this moment does not cover the Ghana's fiscal deficit. How do you think there are some other ways to solve for that?
Yes, thank you very much. I think that this is exactly what I was talking before. I think that the issue in terms of reliance on primary commodities is not going to be sufficient. That's why you need to industrialize. That's why you need to add value. But more importantly, as far as the fiscal is concerned, I believe that we should move a lot of the government expenditure to the private sector. A lot of deals can be structured which allow for the private sector to participate and produce all of these services. Government doesn't have to do all of it. So you will need to move towards the private sector, more revenue mobilization as well, more formalization of the economy, and you will get a lot more done.
The other question, what measures have you taken to ensure the role of digitalization in the overall growth being sustainable beyond your tenure?
Yeah, well, I think that this has been a question that many people have asked. How will things continue? I believe that the core things that we have done, because we have involved all the stakeholders in doing it, we just don't come and say, here it is, and go on. There's a law that backs the Ghana card, for example. So the Ghana card is rooted in law, and so everybody knows that you need the Ghana card for certain specific transactions, and so on. So that is sustainable, and that is really the core, because it's the unique identifier across all transactions in Ghana. And so with the Ghana card, it's been very, very useful. But people are also seeing and buying into the efficiencies that digitalization is bringing. So we've done a digital address system. Every household, every hut in the village has a digital address. For the first time since independence, it's efficient. You can't abolish it. It's very difficult. You've done mobile money interoperability. It's working. But one of the things that has made what we have done sustainable, and I think that my advice to all other African countries, that Ghana's digitalization has been private sector led, even though we have championed it from the government sector, but all the digitalization initiatives are private sector managed. Because whether you're talking of the address system or the mobile money interoperability and all of that, It's all private sector. And so private sector has an incentive to make these systems work, because when they work, they make money. So that is where I think the heart of sustainability is concerned, that you have an interest to keep the system working, and the system is delivering services and delivering efficiency, such that everybody wants to see it continue. You are not saying that this is government, and so that is where we are.
Makes sense. Thank you so much, Dr. Bawumia, for your speech and for all your insights. Please join me thanking Dr. Bawumia.
Time for it.